Today's episode of Nerd Soup is brought to you by NordVPN. Right now, you can get 70% off a 3-year plan, plus 1 additional month for free when you go to nordvpn.com/nerdsoup, or use code NERDSOUP. This special offer makes your subscription just $3.49 per month. For those of you unfamiliar with NordVPN, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It's essentially a private network created by Nord that allows you to keep your information safe. Rather than exposing your information on a public network, NordVPN's private networks will allow you to safeguard your private information like your computer's IP address, your private passwords, and your banking information. Another great thing about using Nord's private networks is the access you receive to content from around the world. Say you're living overseas, and there's a new show debuting only in the US. Simply connect to one of Nord's private networks in the US, and voila, you're in. Nord allows up to 6 simultaneous connections and is supported on both iOS and Android devices. So just don't protect your desktop, you can protect your phone, your tablets, every device can be protected by Nord. And remember, visit nordvpn.com/nerdsoup or use code NERDSOUP to get 70% off a 3-year plan, plus 1 additional month for free. Take control of your internet experience today with NordVPN. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined today by Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are here with a very special edition of the Nerd Soup podcast. We are going back and counting down the top 10 movies of 2019. Not 2020. Last year, not this year.
Excuse me?
Oh. 2019. We didn't
What?
do that top 10 yet. We usually do the top 10 every year.
Oh, man.
Didn't want to rush it. You know, there were some films I had to catch.
I spent the past 3 days in Regal watching every 2020 release getting ready for this. The Gentleman.
Wow.
Grudge.
Heard good. Well, didn't hear good things about that. The Gentleman, I've heard.
Doolittle?
Yeah.
Come on.
Murphy didn't come back, no?
No.
But,
all right, I guess. Yeah, 2019. We'll do that. That was a good year for movies.
It was a very good year. I'm actually excited because with my top 10, I had to leave out some good ones. I had to leave out a lot of 9 out of 10s because my list, I guess I just have great taste, was so elite.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this year got off to a bit of a slow start, but it really picked up towards the end. And
Yes,
there are a lot of movies that, just didn't make the list. And a lot of the movies on this list, besides, I would say the top 2, are very interchangeable. My 10 could easily be 3. My 3 could be 7. It's just...
Do you have any honorable mentions? Any movies that you kind of left out? I don't. I only have my 10 because it was so hard. I didn't even want to look at those movies.
Well, yeah,
Just get out of here.
Peanut Butter Falcon was a movie I adored, and it was tough. It stood strong. I wanted it to be in a top 10, but it just didn't make the cut. And Two Popes, Knives Out, Joker, Endgame from the comic book side. I mean, Booksmart, Dolomite, Rocketman.
Dolomite, yeah. That
Very
was,
deep year.
That was the one for me, leaving that out. Spoiler. Yeah, I also left out Dolomite. No, yeah, it was very deep. Very good roster. Championship roster of movies in 2019.
1 through 25 are all solid, where you can kind of bump it up depending on what mood or when I saw it. But
you wanted to do 1 through 75. And I was like, all right, Aaron, we get it. You watch movies, all right? Name every actor.
Ever?
All right, so how we're going to do this is we're going to go...
Alphabetical order, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, right.
I'm going first names, then skipped a bunch, but...
We'll go back and forth. We'll do our top 10s. We'll go 3 and 3. 3, 3, 3, 1, 1.
Okay. I'm not going to pretend like I know what you mean, but just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
We're going to go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Gotcha.
And would you like to start?
Oh, it'd be my honor. Number 10, Parasite.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like the only movie that you can include in your top 10 and people will still be like, that's disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually kind of offended right now. So you're to explain to us why you didn't understand it?
Yes, that's
okay.
Exactly. No, like I said, it's
got to put on the subtitles.
It's very interchangeable, my list, but it's just a matter of preference. I like some of these movies a hair better, but I mean,
this was just it's been a beast. I mean, at the box office, all the money that it's making. Bong Joon-ho,
yeah,
is a director that's really establishing himself with international audiences.
I mean, everybody, critics and film fans around the world, this appears to be their 1, 2, or 3. And
right, it's. I've heard people that don't necessarily think it's the best movie of the year, but everyone seems to enjoy it. There's not a lot of hate for this film.
No, I haven't really seen any at all, and it just speaks to just the film itself. I mean, the acting is incredible. The directing, Bong Joon-ho, is absolutely fantastic. The screenplay is clever, refreshing, and I think the themes of the movie are very universal. It is a South Korean film, but I feel like no matter who's watching it can connect with some aspects of this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a mark of how global society has become.
Yeah.
There's so many great references throughout the film. Things that maybe as Americans we won't understand, but even references to the U.S., like when she said, we bought the tent, it's not going to leak because we bought it in the U.S.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was a very smart, very contemporary film.
And there's a lot of visual metaphors about class structure and things like that, as well as...
It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Just beautiful to look at.
It's a movie where I really liked the movie when I first saw it, but it kind of stuck with me, and I kept thinking
like a
back.
Parasite?
What? All right, can we redo this?
I'm great on the color.
This is two. Putting it up. I didn't get it until now.
No.
It's a movie where like I said, it stuck with me. I kept looking back on it, and I just kept appreciating it more and more. And the Blu-ray should be coming out soon, so I think like maybe the third or fourth time I watch it, I'll might be one of those movies where you just keep watching and you just keep liking it more and more.
Yeah, keep borrowing my
more.
Blu-ray more and more, not returning them.
No, I know.
Yeah, don't even say anything. just go on to your number 9. We get it.
I was gonna say I was gonna burn, but I can't do that to Bong Joon.
Yeah, don't. Whoa.
I know. That's why I said I didn't say
make
it.
a living. Did you not see the themes of this movie?
But I feel like he was kind of rooting for guys like me.
Actually, maybe.
Punching up,
That's his next movie. That's his next 6-hour flick on Netflix. I mean Hulu. I mean HBO. Get all these mixed up now.
Number 9, Jojo Rabbit.
9, Jojo Rabbit.
Yes.
Taika Waititi, that cheeky bastard, knows how to make a flick.
He's amazing. I was watching Ragnarok the other day. What a film.
He is becoming, because Hunt for the Wilder People, if I ever get around to making top 10 of the decade, Hunt for the Wilder People, it surprises people when I say this, it's number 3 for me. That movie is a flawless masterpiece, and JoJo's
is so good.
Very similar. And it's resonated with people similar to Hunt for the Wilder People on a bigger scale because more movie stars, and it's been a good success.
We talked about this with The Mandalorian, how he's able to adapt his comedic style to fit what he's trying to portray. And all of his films, while having, you kind of know it's Taika Waititi, but he does these little things that kind of fit what the movie's about. And obviously this one, its subject matter was obviously something that some people weren't exactly thrilled with, but I think he just did a wonderful job of balancing that and doing it in a way that isn't distasteful. And it was tremendously funny, heartwarming, very clever. Could have easily been like an offensive mess, but he just did a masterful job with this movie.
Yeah, it just shows how smart of a filmmaker he is. Once I heard the premise, I knew that it was going to be good.
Yeah, well,
it was right up his alley.
Well, it was like Taika Waititi's doing this, so I'm like,
right.
Okay, that I have faith in that. If it was like
Guy Ritchie,
yeah,
I can only imagine how that one would have been. Interesting, but yeah, you know that he has that. Well, Hunt for the Wilder People, I mean, death is all throughout that movie. And it's similar with JoJo. He has that sensitive touch. He is very in your face with his comedy, but he knows when to be delicate, when to pull back. And I think that's really the magic of JoJo.
Yeah, and I think it did a wonderful job of portraying what the overall message was and just how people can get caught up in these things. And at the end of the day, it's just a kid. And it's I don't know, the way he used these characters, the way that their views on what was going on, how skewed they were. But it was never something like it was like promoting. It was more showing like how this can happen. And I mean, Roman Griffin Davis, fantastic. Scarlett Johansson, Archie Yates. I hope he's in every movie going forward.
Yeah,
that kid's adorable. And Thompson McKenzie was great as well. And Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell.
Forget Rockwell was in there.
He was, yeah. One of my favorite performances by him.
Yeah.
And it's just the ridiculousness of fascism, to capture it through the imagination of a child is so genius. It just goes to show that only a child who's being led by idiots can believe something so stupid.
Yeah.
And that's really the message of it.
Yeah.
But people look at Taika with the Hitler mustache and they're like, ah! Hitler! He's back! I'm actually very excited for your number 8.
How do you know my number 8?
I'm looking at your list.
Uncut Gems.
I know all about your number 8, boy.
Uncut Gems.
I saw this.
Safdie Brothers production, Adam Sandler.
Safdie Brothers. Those Safdie Brothers, what are they on?
Did you see the Goldman vs. Silverman short film they made?
No, I didn't. That's with Adam Sandler, right?
Yeah, and one of the Safdies.
And one of the Safdies, right? Yeah, it's got to be the one who played the brother in Good Time.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was.
They are like
it's weird.
Cocaine as a filmmaker. If cocaine was a filmmaker.
Goldman vs. Silverman was like acid mixed with more.
More acid.
Yes.
Acid mixed with
No,
higher quantities of acid.
it's not that. It's odd.
They're oddballs, man.
Very unique viewing experience. I wish I had like a Fitbit because I feel like I would have broke that shit like right off my wrist.
No, yeah, definitely.
It's there.
How many steps do you think he took throughout that movie, Adam Sandler?
I think I took enough, just like kind of just fidgeting around. I probably hit 10,000.
He might have taken about 80,000 steps throughout that whole adventure.
I mean, they're tremendous filmmakers, and I could see why like some people may be turned off by their style because it gets going and it doesn't stop. And it's chaotic, it's loud, so many people are talking over each other. That gives it like an authentic feel to it. I'm in New York right now. Like, I'm in the city, I'm in this chaotic environment, like the Diamond District. Like, I don't know anything about that, but it did a great job of thrusting the audience in there and just not letting up. It's tension. It's crazy at points. It's like,
I know.
You're kind of just sitting there waiting, and it's just like
the definition of
edge. Is this going to slow down a little?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to get some like I don't know, anything? But
a lot of surprises, a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah, and it was
Sandler.
Yeah, it's at his best. I mean, even like Lakeith Stanfield's quickly become one of my favorite actors. He was great. KG. I did a good one. KG was fantastic. The Weeknd, Julia Fox, like it was just an experience. That's the only way I can really describe it. It's an experience. And every time a film can make me feel something that you normally don't get at the theater, it's only a good thing.
All right, cool. You're 10, 9, and 8. All films I enjoyed. And now I'll go to my number 10. Is a movie called Shadow, directed by Chong Yimou. It's a Chinese movie that technically came out in 2018, but for us it's 2019, so I had to include it on my list. And Chong Yimou is a legendary director. Some of his bigger movies, Hero with Jet Li, Raise the Red Lantern as well. But his latest movie, it's the last movie on my list that I saw, and I just had to get it on this list because it was such a surreal experience, but one of those experiences that is surreal without being pretentious. Mm-hmm. And the things that they deal in this movie, it's an epic. It's a wartime political epic. It's just magnificent. The cinematography, the black and white color palettes, it's a movie you can turn off and just admire the way it looks. But you also want to turn it back on because Zai Lau, the composer of this movie, did an excellent job of capturing all the themes and the cinematography within the score. So it's almost like a reverse. You could turn off the movie, just listen to the sound design, the swords clashing with each other, the music, and you could still feel that tension that's building throughout. And the themes in this movie, I mean, duality, political destiny, it's a trip. It's a great trip, and I'm glad that I got a chance to watch this before we recorded this video.
It's interesting, too, just when you think about, like, all the different filmmakers around the world. Like, this is a Chinese film, you said. It's just... I think sometimes we forget that there's great cinema all over. That's out right now that I never even heard of this until you just started talking right now.
Well, there's a critic that I follow, Priscilla Page, online, and she released her top 10 in December. And I always read her top 10 because last year we had the same number one, Suspiria. So it's like, okay, this is somebody I got to read for the rest of my life. This was on her list, and I was like, oh, I got to check this out, you know? But yeah, it's a good point, unless you really have to dig sometimes. And Bong Joon-ho made the point about the Oscars that they're very local. When you look at other major film award ceremonies, they'll acknowledge films from all over the world.
I mean, like Roma got Best Picture last year, Parasite this year. So hopefully maybe more and more foreign films get more into the, I guess, Western mainstream where people are going to see these movies. Like Pan's Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's probably tons of those type of films out there that you just never comes across to you.
Well, that's why I kind of like to shed a light. Every year I try to not necessarily go out of my way, but make sure that I do make the effort to watch these films from different filmmakers from around the world, just because you can miss out, you know?
Well, I guess like Pan's, like, you know, the Del Toros and Inarritu's, Cuaróns. Like, those are big directors. They do other films like that we've watched, like Gravity and things like that. But there's probably just so many other filmmakers out there that I never even heard of that would make films that I would like. So.
No, yeah, all the time. I mean, every day it feels like I learn about somebody from somewhere that did something that's essential. It's all the time. So, but I'll go to my number 9. Another not a legendary filmmaker, but somebody who is quickly building his legend. Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. This was a movie that I was so excited when I saw the trailer. Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson essentially just acting off of each other for an hour and a half. and it's everything that you would expect from a Robert Eggers movie. Just coming off of The Witch, which was another brilliant film, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare come to life, and it's essentially a buddy movie between two guys who just get so sick of each other, and they go mad. And the writing and the performances are both spectacular, and it fits the time so well. I guess it's like late 19th century New England. It looks like that area, Massachusetts. I'm not exactly sure. But he kind of captured that moment in time where it doesn't come off as, are these people just dressing up and acting?
Yeah.
But does it really feel like you're living in this lighthouse with them? And I think he captured that claustrophobic experience perfectly through the use of the aspect ratio, the black and white. The cinematography was outstanding.
Yeah, I'll talk more about this one later.
Is this on your list?
It might be somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, Eggers he's quickly becoming like one of must see. If you like hear that he's releasing a movie, it's automatically gonna interest me after this and The Witch.
It's must see. You have to see it like 3 or 4 times to really appreciate it. Not necessarily because you're so stunned by what you saw, but there's so much going on there with his themes and his imagery, the filmmakers that he was inspired by, the paintings that he was inspired by. I've been watching people post stills online for months of different shots from the movie that were taken from other films or paintings.
Well, I mentioned this in Uncut Gems, just unique viewing experiences, and The Lighthouse is a very unique viewing experience.
It's a definition of that.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll talk about it a little later.
Yeah, and Uncut Gems is actually my number 8. So we have the same number 8.
KJ.
Right, and I'll just piggyback on everything you said. I guess I'll start with Adam Sandler. He's a good dramatic actor. And that's kind of the word on him, that everybody knows that he has it in him, but he does those terrible comedies. But when you can kind of pull him out of that and pair him up with good filmmakers, which the Safdie brothers, I was blown away by Good Time. I was blown away by this. It's just the vibe that they create. You said it perfectly. It's that frenetic, chaotic atmosphere that they put you in. And this character of Howard Ratner, you don't realize it until the end, but to see that unraveling play out throughout the Diamond District, the way that they brought this world to life. They create a world out of New York City. It's like New York manifested as a filmmaker. That's what the Safdie brothers are.
Yeah.
And cocaine.
Yes. Don't forget the cocaine. They're another group. I mean, you mentioned Good Time, that, Safdie's come out with something. You hear they're making a new movie. They're getting to the point where it's a must watch. Yeah,
they're becoming almost like cult heroes on Twitter as well. And it's a good move, It's like when
you just sign a lifetime deal at A24.
When the up and coming rapper makes a song with the biggest pop star, That's kind of what they did with Sandler. Our movies are very niche; they're for a specific audience. And you made that point too, that people who are fans of Adam Sandler come into this movie expecting something else. And also for even people who are film buffs, because I've seen a lot of cinephiles didn't enjoy this movie, because that style it's very unique.
Yeah,
and it's very it's a Safdie brothers film as soon as it starts.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like this movie, I can't criticize you for that, because it is, the style doesn't work for you, it just doesn't work, and you're not going to like this movie. So it's just preference at that point. And
it's almost like arguing if somebody doesn't like peanut butter.
Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous.
But you can't. What's your argument? Like it tastes really good.
No, it's like you're allergic. It's like if you don't like this movie, you probably have like a bad heart because you can't take the.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too much. But
you're just ill. But there's nothing you could say because the style is so in your face.
It is very unique, and if it doesn't work for you...
Well, you don't like this not being able to understand, and the plot is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Can't read the subtitles because everyone's talking... You don't like that?
That is crazy.
What's not to like?
I can only imagine watching that with closed captioning.
You saw that video? Yeah, the subtitles all over the place.
Was that real?
It's got to be.
Oh,
because that happens to be with... that happens in anime sometimes.
Okay.
Where they'll subtitle a conversation that's kind of happening in the distance, but then it's the characters that you're supposed to be following. They're all being subtitled at the same time. But yeah, Uncut Gems. No love from the Oscars, really, which was upsetting.
No.
I thought Sandler could have squeezed the nomination, but at the end of the day, it's on my top 10, so.
That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Just know that you're on both our top 10 lists.
Right.
And I liked Grown Ups.
Well, we'll deal with that in a separate video, but I'd like to throw it back to you for your number 7 movie. Number 7 on your list.
Number 7 was 1917.
Ooh.
I mean, this is another movie, very high octane, very, very tense. And Roger Deakins, I mean, what else? What can you say about this guy that hasn't been said? But
he's the best ever, and he just keeps proving it movie after movie. And it's what I love is that he's taking on endeavors that are different, It's not he's just working with the best directors and making a stunning looking film, but they're trying to do something new. They're trying to move the art form in different directions.
I know some people will be like, oh, it's gimmicky, the one shot, but this movie, I think it lended perfect to it, that style. You were on this journey, this adventure, this madness that's going on, and you felt like you were there with the characters.
I'm going to quote Eminem,
Yeah.
but you're exactly right, because the one take captures the one shot, one opportunity that they have to complete this mission.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have. I wanted to say that, but I had to bring up Eminem because if I didn't, it would have just sounded corny, like I was quoting "Lose Yourself." But that's really what it is.
Yeah.
This is a one shot. You've got like 16 hours. If you fuck this up, like 4,000 people die. Good luck. That's essentially what the movie is.
Yeah, and
Be on your way.
I mean, some of the shots too were absolutely incredible. I mean, when he's running during the trench warfare and he's running along the opposite way of the army, he's kind of running horizontal while they're going vertical.
Yeah.
And just madness is going around. The shot at the town when it's dusk, dawn's arriving, and just the colors, and it's one of the most amazing things I've seen in the theater this year.
When they call the one shot a gimmick, which is, first of all, it's ridiculous because you can do that and make a movie look really dumb. If you still have to place your characters within the scene. There's still something to be said about the composition of your film. But I mean, do people not look at this movie and see how gorgeous it is? And that's the genius of the one take. They always say Spielberg, you look at what Tarantino did with the Bruce Lee scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's all one take. You don't even notice it.
No. I mean,
until somebody brought up the Once Upon a Time thing recently, I was like, oh yeah, that is one take. And when it's noticeable, it's bad. And in 1917, it's not.
No, you just get lost in it. It's like a journey. And I think George McKay was one of the most underrated performances of the year. Dean Charles Chapman, too, was fantastic. There's some...
Even Richard Madden, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've had fucking
cameos.
Colin Firth, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Andrew Scott.
Yeah. And, I mean... It had me on the edge of my seat. It was heartbreaking at times. It was, I was nervous. It just really pulled on every emotion.
Well, what about your number 6? How did that do? Did that get the emotions revving?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Different type of movie.
It's
provokes different type of emotions.
Yes, exactly. It's Tarantino's love letter to old Hollywood, and it's one of his best. It's just an experience, this movie. It's kind of like you're transported back to 1969, and you're just viewing this kind of buddy comedy, but it has so much different elements. There are classic Tarantino tense moments at the ranch, and...
He knows how to create tension.
Yeah, I kind of...
But people have called this... people have called this his most mature film.
Yeah, it's... I mean, there's so many different elements to it. I mean, it's... probably one of his funnier films. It's one of his more tense films. It's one of his more, I guess, better. It's one of his best, directed films. It's just there's so much to this movie, and this is a movie where I've seen it 3 times now, and it's one of those bastards. I put on any time of the day, watch it, and it's like I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Or just turn it on at any scene, and you're so looking forward to what's to come next that you get invested no matter where you start. And the movie, it's a little more reserved than most of his films. It takes its time to... He blends everything that he does great in other films together in this one, I feel. He's known to revise history a little bit, so...
Yeah.
That's always interesting, because that was part of the allure of this movie. It's, Charles Manson and Tarantino's take on this event. But it's presented in such a different way, where Manson is just kind of like an afterthought.
Yes.
Until, I guess, the end.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this movie. I may speak about it a little bit later, but...
Do I go again?
Yeah, you actually do go again. Your number 5 movie.
Yeah, number 5 for me is Midsummer. It's spelled differently, though. No,
right, he spelled summer with an O.
Yeah, and an A.
And an A. A-R.
Yeah. You get it?
Yeah, I mean, he just spelled it. I mean, I don't think that was intentional. He just might be, I don't know. Good filmmaker, bad speller.
Yeah, we talked about it a little with Robert Eggers before. Ari Aster. I keep saying that weird.
Yeah, you kind of got it. Yeah.
Ari Aster.
I'll give you a pass for that. Ari Aster.
Whatever.
I like Oster better.
Take which one you want. Yeah, it kind of has
Just call him double A.
He's truly one of the best working today. Between this and Hereditary, I mean, him and Eggers are the future of horror, and that's amazing to me.
They're like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson just coming in, revitalizing the genre, giving life, inspiring other directors to bring their A game too, because we've always thought, people are making the case now, oh, horror's always been good. Well, I don't know about that. Mainstream horror seems to be getting better. Maybe independent horror has always been...
Well, I never liked horror, but these past few years it's been,
I think it gets the rap like the comic book genre, where it's easy to do it and make money with it.
Well, yeah, you get the Blumhouse productions that cost $4 million and make $100, and they're like, we can put out shit. Who gives a fuck?
But I think it was the actress who plays the mom in Hill House. She said horror gives you the opportunity to explore very real emotions and themes in a heightened way.
Yeah.
And that's what Midsommar is doing.
Well, between this, Hereditary, Babadook, Lighthouse, like when horror is at its best, it's unlike any other genre. Because, like you said, it takes other subgenres and presents them in a horrific way. That's good. Like I've been saying multiple times throughout this, just a range of emotions when experiencing these films is incredible. And Midsommar is, talk about beautiful, but in the creepiest way imaginable. That's what this movie
Horror
is.
in the daylight?
I don't know if it's gonna work.
I always said, I was like, it's like The Shining. The Shining did that perfectly. It's not what you can't see, it's what's right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what it is. You don't know what it wants. You don't know why you're in this situation. You made the point when we came out of the theater that this movie, because it does deal with characters taking psychedelics, that it's like a bad trip.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, because they are going overseas and literally.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just encapsulating. I mean, there's always imminent danger is always looming during this movie, but even though you know it's coming, it just eats away at you, and you kind of just get lost in it, and you just waiting, and sometimes it makes you feel very uneasy, but it's just, I don't know, it's a movie that stuck with me or when did it come out? In the spring?
Yeah, around there. It had that staying power, definitely. And this is a movie that you definitely liked it more than I did, but yeah, I mean, for Ari Aster, Hereditary blew me away. That was in my top 5 last year.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Damn, he's quick. He knows how to work.
And
yeah, this was, I want to get that a director's cut, because apparently it's like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And this already felt way longer than it actually was because of everything you said, the way that he kind of extends this trip like a psychedelic almost. It's like time is moving at a different speed when you're watching this movie. And Florence Pugh, without her lead performance, I think that this is a movie that could come off as almost silly, like the horror that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But she is so convincing. Her trauma, her angst, and her sadness, you could just feel it.
Her character's journey throughout this film that's kind of your perspective into it, because there's just so much going on where, like you said, normally like things in horror movies, like, why aren't they picking up on this? Like, can't you just, like, what are you doing?
Right, yeah.
But he presented those elements into this movie wonderfully, and her talk about just a terrific year for Florence Pugh. I mean, I would argue she got nominated for the wrong movie, but she was just as good in Little Woman. So
hey, man, get her in there twice.
Yeah,
Scarlett Johansson got it twice for Parasite and Farewell. No,
she was obviously the standout in this film, and I mean, Ari Aster. I can't say enough about Ari Aster.
Can't say his name.
I can't. Yeah,
he's got you so.
Because Ari Aster flows better. Ari Aster. It sounds
Ari
like
Aster. Sounds like you're Francis McDormand in Fargo. Ari Aster.
Yeah,
I like that guy.
Well, I'm gonna stick with Aster.
She'd be good in an Ari Aster film.
Yeah. All right, you're up.
Oh, I'm up. My number 7. Wow, look at this. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That Quentin Tarantino.
The soundtrack in this movie is so fucking good.
Great soundtrack. I love when Mrs. Robinson comes on when they first pull onto the street where Sharon Tate lives. And like you said, I guess I'll start with the revisionist history. It was a great love letter to not only Hollywood, but to Sharon Tate, because the way that her legacy was kind of taken over by Charles Manson, where when you think of Sharon Tate, you don't think of the movies, you think about what happened to her. And to present this as a fairy tale where that didn't happen. And also answering his critics where violence can be used in a positive way. If you were asked, do you want to see the people who murdered Sharon Tate brutally murdered themselves? It's like, maybe. Yeah. I probably prefer that than an innocent life being lost.
No, yeah, definitely.
And the way that he builds that up all to that moment, to that explosive end, that's actually one of my criticisms of some of his films, is that you kind of know what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of talking. There's going to be a lot of tension. And at the end, he's just going to blow everything up. But I think it was such a surprising ending because you are expecting one type of violent ending and you get another one. And it was so funny. It was kind of wholesome in a way.
Yeah.
It was optimistic Tarantino, and that's why people, I think, are calling it his most mature movie. But, I mean, everything that came before that, too, was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, Leo and Pitt are the driving force behind this movie. And
Brad
they're
Pitt,
so great together.
I think he might get the Best Supporting Oscar. And it's a very relaxed performance. It's cool, casual Brad Pitt. but he really is a character actor trapped in a leading man's body. I saw somebody say that on Twitter the other day. Just the versatility in his performances has been really impressive over these past couple of years. And this year with Ad Astra and this, but like you said, the whole cast was terrific. I mean, everything. Al Pacino cutting a cigar, pouring a little cognac, watching a Western double feature. I could watch that all day. I could just watch that scene.
Feature. And Margot Robbie was great too. I mean, it's kind of, I know there was some like controversy, I don't know, around that, her screen time, and I kind of liken it to a movie that I'm going to talk about. I don't know if it's on your list, The Irishman with Anna Paquin.
Ah, right.
Where
haven't seen it.
No, The Irishman. It's pretty good. 3.5 hour.
I haven't even heard of it.
There's a reason why in both films that they're used sparingly. And when she's on screen, I think it creates a bigger impact. And it's kind of all this stuff is going around. And off to the side, we're following Sharon Tate and having her outlook on life and just how, she's just this rising star in 1969 Hollywood. And like you said, with the history, I mean, the whole time it's in the back of your mind, like, oh, man, I don't want to see what's going to happen at the end. But when that moment does happen and he kind of plays with history, it's like a relief.
Yeah, exactly. And he builds that up so great. The introduction to the Manson followers when they're all walking through the street and singing. The scene at Spa Ranch. We recently released a video on how he's kind of the master of tension. And right there is just a lesson for all directors. Mm-hmm. Something that just ends with a conversation between a blind Bruce Dern and Brad Pitt, but getting to that moment.
Yeah, it is.
It's like walking through a haunted house almost. Yeah, I mean, and Tarantino, he's so influential. I mean, recently the movie The Gentleman came out. You see movies like that, the fast pace, the fast edits, the snappy dialogue. It's all from Tarantino. And obviously he's known as a director that's very influenced by the movies that came before, but when he does it, it's the best. Mm-hmm. And I hope he does more than just one more movie, because every time he drops something, it's in my top 10.
Or he just keeps combining movies. So it's like...
This was literally like Westerns, Nazis, violence.
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Well, no, he combined Kill Bill's only one movie. So maybe like combine like this and Bastards. That's one movie now. So he can make two more and just so on and so on. Reservoir Dogs,
that's
Pulp
what you're
Fiction.
saying. Right.
That's one movie too.
Yeah. Hateful Eight and Django is one movie.
Yeah.
That's the same.
You got
world.
like 6 left, Quentin.
My number 6 film is The Farewell. Wow, I haven't looked at this list in a couple of days. I totally forgot this was on there. Directed by Lulu Wang, another movie that was kind of left out when it came to Oscar nominations. It didn't get nominated for Best Picture, right?
No, Awkwafina won the
Golden
Globe and wasn't nominated for an Oscar. And I think it was nominated for Best Comedy and Musical.
Yeah, and I always joke that Awkwafina, the comedian, always takes that dramatic role when their comedic films aren't doing so well anymore. Like Will Ferrell, Steve Carell's doing it more often now. But Awkwafina cut out the middleman. She said, hey, I'm not going to wait for my career to go in the tubes. I'm going to do the drama right now while I'm young and in my prime.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic movie. Like we said with Parasite and Shadow, it's a new perspective that you get. And Lulu Wang, writing the movie 70% in Mandarin, 30% in English, you get that perspective from a first-generation Chinese-American immigrant, where they kind of struggle with their identity. Are they American? Are they Chinese? They kind of battle between the different ideals. Their family back home is more skeptical about their new American home. And the way that they tackled all of that within the idea of this dying matriarch, it was emotional, it was powerful, it was something that, that I was happy to experience because I'll never be a Chinese immigrant.
I love when films kind of enlighten you on a different perspective. That's something that you would never experience or something along that, but you could still like kind of make small connections like, oh, this is a universal thing that happens to everybody. It kind of transcends in some ways, and in other ways it's exclusive, and it kind of gives you a little peek into that life.
Yeah, and we kind of have those kind of generational battles with our parents, our grandparents, where ideals change, traditions change, and that's really what's going on in this movie, because Awkwafina is on the side of we should tell our grandmother what's happening. The older generation doesn't want to. Oh, and also the idea of identity. It's something that I've dealt with too. That's the American dream, right? We have all these different cultures, people coming from different places. It is sometimes hard, where I always wondered myself, like, am I American or am I Puerto Rican? And that's in this movie as well. Am I American? Am I Chinese? That was very refreshing to see. And I wish it would have gotten more recognition. The screenplay, I think they were nominated for screenplay, right? Best original screenplay?
Oh, no, I just remember. I think Aquafina was comedy musical. I think it got nominated for foreign film for the Golden Globes.
For the Golden Globes, yes. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the performances throughout this family, it felt like they weren't overly wacky. It felt like a real family.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were spending time, that you were going through this traumatic time with them. And yeah, an excellent movie. And the fifth movie on my list would be The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese. A legendary director, obviously. It's the first movie he's done since Wolf of Wall Street, correct? No, Silence, actually.
Yeah.
So he's kind of taken the route of making these really overextended films that are a bit slower than his usual work. I mean, he's known for the fast-paced Casino, Goodfellas, even Mean Streets all the way back in the day, and Wolf of Wall Street as well. But the route that he's taken in, the back nine of his career, he's almost going to be 80 years old. To go in this direction, it's just so impressive. It's a guy who keeps evolving, keeps rebranding himself, and obviously with this movie, you see all of his greatest hits throughout. But this 3.5-hour epic covering half of a lifetime, and you would think, oh, we're going to cover half of this hitman's life. Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, we're going to do 40 years of his life in 3.5 hours. Whoa, you need 10 hours. You need a miniseries to do that. But that's Scorsese's greatest skill as a filmmaker, his pacing, where he could take you through half a lifetime in 3 hours, and it feels like it was just an afternoon.
Yeah, no, it was definitely the quickest 3.5 hours I've ever spent watching a movie. And it's kind of interesting you mentioned his age. Like, he is in the back nine, but this is kind of like a film that fits that a little.
Yeah, it's like a reflection.
Yeah, it's like a retrospective of maybe his past films, or in this case, in Frank Sheeran, of his past life. And It kind of is that deep dive into more of the nuances of what this lifestyle entails.
Yeah, and the technology, the de-aging technology, it worked for me. Did it work for you?
It's something that I noticed because that was going into it. That was the big thing.
Yeah, that's what you sell with this film.
And
I think there are definitely moments where it's not to a point where the technology is, we're going to de-age you 40 years and no one's going to notice. I think in other movies it works better because you can hide that character. They're not going to be the central focus, but De Niro is very much the lead. Al Pacino, Joe Pesci play supporting roles, and they're all fantastic. I mean, forget the technology. They could still act.
Yeah, and
they could still act.
It goes away after the first initial shock, I guess. A couple times throughout, you see some of the movements, and you're like, but you can forgive that because the movie is just a fantastic movie. It's one of his best works.
Yeah, and the way that this man's life, it intertwines with all these different moments in U.S. history is what I found so fascinating. The politics with JFK, obviously with Jimmy Hoffa, and that's a standout performance for me. Al Pacino, it's always great to see him because he's done so many bad movies lately. To be in the hands of an accomplished filmmaker for the first time in his career. You have two legends who have made so many similar movies but never worked on the same movie. So that was really interesting. But yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Frank Sheeran as a man, as a mafia hitman, it really hammers home the point that this is kind of a pathetic life. This is a low life, essentially. Even though you make money, you have success, you have powerful friends, at the end of the day, this is a man who has completely alienated his entire family, and he dies alone. And it's such an interesting, tragic story. I just want to make one comment about one of the controversies of this movie is Anna Paquin's character, similar to Margot Robbie in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. People were upset by the lack of dialogue for that character. But I think it's, once again, you have to take a look at the filmmaker. Martin Scorsese has made a bunch of movies with strong female characters. And for this character in particular, it felt like she was a ghost haunting Robert De Niro throughout the film, where she could pick up on the sins that he was accumulating throughout his life. And by the end of it, she was done. And it's a haunting presence that I thought was done on purpose. It wasn't, we forgot to give Hannah Paquin lines because we don't think they can act.
It was an artistic decision. And every time she was on the screen, it was kind of that presence that she brought you could feel it through the screen. It's like she knows. I think like her not speaking speaks volumes in those moments.
Yes. It's kind of like the truth that everybody knows but nobody speaks about.
Yeah.
She is the literal elephant in the room throughout his life.
Yeah.
All right, now to your number 4. 4, 3, and 2. We're winding down, man. Getting close to those number ones.
Well, number 4 for me is Marriage Story.
Ah.
Yes. Story about not marriage, but
in 5
divorce.
Years, how this channel ends.
I'm keeping Teddy, though.
You're keeping Teddy?
Yeah.
We're going to fight for custody over Teddy. He's got to know I fought for him.
I mean, I thought this film was superb. Everything from the writing and the performances, it just made for like such a candid and nuanced look into this part of these people's lives. I know a lot of stories and movies in the past have dealt with a divorce or a separation of a marriage, but I think the way they approached this was unique in a lot of ways. And Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson absolutely delivered in this film. Adam Driver is my pick for Best Actor, and I think Joaquin Phoenix was maybe just as good, but I thought Adam Driver in this film was phenomenal. Being alive gets me every time. There were multiple instances in this film where I was like fucking ugly crying, kind of. Like,
really?
Not like out loud, but
I mean,
like,
Ray Liotta doesn't look that bad.
No, but
and he's good in the role.
I was thinking about his career, and like after Goodfellas, he never really took off. You know, that scene and the scene at the end when he's reading the letter, it's just heartbreaking. But it's also a great blend of comedy as well. I think one of the funniest things when he's like, I don't watch TV, and the camera slowly pans, and he's just watching TV. Yeah. Little things like that I really enjoyed, and I think Noah Baumbach did an excellent job with this movie. It is another Netflix movie, and we talked about that with this and The Irishman last year at Roma, how more and more Oscar-worthy films are being made on the streaming platforms. I don't know, I think some people were kind of joking around with, especially that scene between Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver when they're fighting. They were kind of shitting on the acting, and I don't see that at all.
Well, people were comparing the actual script. Mm-hmm. They had the script scrolling down side by side with the scene as it was playing out. And somebody commented and said, "Look how efficiently they're delivering. They are delivering their lines. There's one mistake." And people are like, "Oh, so they're acting?" That's like me shooting a basketball, and people are saying, "Well, anyone can shoot at the hoop, so I guess I'm LeBron James now." There's a lot more to it than that. But it's 180 characters, and somebody made a comment complimenting this scene, complimenting the acting. I don't know how people can't see that. The culture of people just wanting to hate everything, I'm getting so tired of it, where people can't see things, they can't view movies in a box. They can't appreciate them for what they are. It doesn't have to be the best or worst thing ever. Like Joker, to me, is the perfect example of that. Not to get off on a tangent, but it's like Joker got a Martin Scorsese style movie. That's cool. You know? That's just fucking cool.
Yeah, and this, like, that scene too, that was just the culmination of everything building up to that moment. And Scarlett Johansson too, that monologue in Laura Dern's office when she's with her divorce lawyer was fantastic.
Oh, she's just memorizing lines. That's all that is. She has a good memory?
So I did that in theater. Yeah, it was probably awful.
Imagine she was just a terrible Broadway actress and they made a good point.
Yeah.
It's like that scene took 1,000 takes.
Yeah. She was fantastic. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of Scarlett Johansson, but I think this year and some of her performances were the best of her career. And this movie exemplifies that. Them two together it was just phenomenal to watch. Number 3, we have Little Woman. Woman.
Little Women.
Multiple.
There's multiple.
Yes.
It's not just one Little Woman.
Greta Gerwig was one of the big snubs from the directing category this year. And there was like some talk around the Golden Globes, and I haven't seen this film yet, so I was kind of like, let me wait and see. Now that I've seen it, I think she deserved a nomination.
Well, if Golden Globes, if you haven't seen it, then it should have been nominated, right? That's how they do it.
Yeah.
This movie comes out in 3 weeks, and it's nominated for every category.
She got screenplay, though, adapted, and I thought that's well-deserving, too.
Well, spoiler for my list, this was a fucking snub for Best Director.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I just praised Joker, and I'm like, Todd Phillips over Greta Gerwig? No way.
All the performances were top-notch. Florence Pugh, we talked about her Midsommar, just as good in this. Saoirse Ronan, with everything. I just want Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan
She's going to be the new Meryl Streep, man.
Well, I want her like Leo and Scorsese, or like I want that kind of.
I like that when the actor-director relationship starts budding.
Emma Watson, it's nice to see her in a big role and deliver.
I have to credit Emma Watson because coming off of Harry Potter, you think, I'm the star. I'm going to be the lead in every movie I get. But she's wisely picking roles that are supporting.
Turn down La La Land.
She did turn down La La Land, yeah. Now,
Beauty and the Beast made it Billy, so.
Right, but instead of latching on to movies like A Beauty and the Beast, where it's not really challenging her as an artist, I think this was such a great role because Emma Watson, probably out of those actresses, might be the most famous, might be the most recognizable, but she took a step back, and I thought she was really fantastic.
Liza Scanlon, great in Sharp Objects, great in this.
So good in this.
Laura Dern, Meryl Streep, Timothy Chalamet. This is a cast. This is like an A24.
Did you know the book?
Cast, even though it's not A24.
No, they straight up just. Yeah. It's not A24. It's got to be. I feel like any good movie that comes out.
Yeah.
Endgame was A24.
What'd you say?
Did you read the book?
It's like this movie's been made like 13 times, and it was made last year too, in 2018.
Yeah, I remember that. It wasn't good. Right?
I've never even heard of it until now, and thank you for
You are uncultured.
I know, I suck.
You ever hear the Bible? That's another good one.
Greta Gerwig should direct that.
Greta Gerwig's the Bible?
Ronan as Jesus.
I don't know if she's got a couple more movies until you break out the Bible. Saoirse Ronan as Jesus. I'd like to see that.
But I think she did a good job of like blending, like taking you to this period while kind of some of the dialogue was it was almost like a mix of modern. It was a weird kind of stylistic choice, but I think that worked fine in this movie.
Mix of modern might be you know how they talk about the Romantic period, the Baroque period. That might be what they call the 21st century film movement. The mix of modern.
And just structurally, how the different time jumps, how that didn't bother me at all. I thought that was wonderfully done with the different color gradings. There was actually like a little kid sitting next to me, and she asked her mom because she didn't really pick up on the nuance of color grading. Idiot. I'm joking. And
that's when you got kicked out, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, we won't talk about that.
No.
Still pending. Bailed you out.
No, but she like asked your mom and like kind of explained like, oh, how like look at the colors. Like I heard them whispering, and that's kind of like a cool little.
You were so passive aggressively telling this woman to shut her kid off.
No, it was kind of.
I heard them whispering, throughout a really good part, and it was great. I'm glad that she's involved in her kid's life, but I heard them
teach the youth the youths aspects of film.
When I go to like a museum and I see somebody there with their kid, I'm like, good job.
Yeah,
good parenting.
Wish my mom did that to me at an early age. I could have been like a Spielberg by now.
My mom just yeeted me into the ball pen in McDonald's ball pit.
And this movie, I just got lost in it. There was a certain point where I felt like the beginning kind of started maybe a little jumbled, a little slow. But once it got going, I was kind of just lost in it. And next thing I knew, the movie was over. And talk about heartbreaking. Some of these scenes in the movie, I won't spoil it, but there's a scene of a piano, and that was just, man. And I think one of my favorite shots of the year is when Eliza Scanlon and Saoirse Ronan's characters are on the beach. And the camera is kind of like on the sand level, and it's looking up at him. And I think it's one of the most beautiful shots I've seen all year. Number 2, I have Little Men. Oh, no, that's The Irishman.
Kinda. Yeah, they're not too tall.
You said it all. I mean, it's Scorsese at its best. I mean, perfectly edited, fastest 3.5 hours of my life. Tremendous performances that really brought these characters to life.
Good score too. I forgot to mention the score.
Yeah, it's kind of like
it's like the drum pattern, right?
Yeah,
and it kind of just I don't know. It's like lurking in the shadows. It follows Frank around. But I also love when he's going to bomb the laundromat, it turns into like a Wii Fit loading screen. It's really goofy and awesome.
Like a little Western kind of mafia blend. I don't know. Yeah. It's unique. It's one of those movies where you can really just, like Goodfellas to me, where I said this numerous times, but you can put it on at any point, and there's just so many good scenes that you instantly become invested and just want to keep watching it just because, oh, this part's coming up. Oh, I can't wait for this part. Al Pacino, fantastic. Him as Jimmy Hoffa was really one of my favorite performances of the year. Joe Pesci too, the more reserved gangster. It's nice to see him kind of change it up because everybody. You think Joe Pesci, it's My Cousin Vinny, or he's Tommy from Goodfellas.
You know what? Going back and just the way that this movie has sat with me, I think I enjoy Pesci's performance more than Pacino's. I think they're both great, but yeah, Pesci as the Vito Corleone type gangster in this movie, it's just he's like your gangster grandpa, you know? You just want to sit on his lap and be like, hey, buy me a Hess truck and whack my bully. You know?
Here's some ice skates.
Here's some peanuts.
And De Niro, too. I mean, everyone talks about Pesci and Pacino, but I thought he was fantastic, too. It was the best I've seen him in a little bit.
Oh, you didn't see Bad Grandpa?
I have the Blu-ray.
That's worse. You haven't seen it, but you have the Blu-ray.
No, I'm joking.
You had to save somebody else for buying it?
Yeah, I was doing God's work
you had
there.
Throw yourself in the fire.
And it's a very subdued, like we said, look at the gangster lifestyle. It takes its time. It knows it has a large window to tell the story, and it uses that to its advantage. And by the end, like you said, it's just a story about a man who chose this lifestyle over his family and how that leaves him empty.
All right, now I'll go to my number 4. It's actually a movie that we both really enjoyed, Penguin Highway, right?
Yeah.
You saw Penguin Highway?
Yeah, March of the Penguin.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Happy feet,
this
too.
movie directed by Hiroyasu Ishida. It's an anime film. Like I said, I always like to kind of search for films like this. Every year we get an anime that's fantastic that I think should be nominated for Best Picture. I mean, a couple of years ago when Your Name came out and it wasn't even nominated for Best Animated Movie, that would be on my all-time for the decade, definitely. But this movie in particular, it follows a fourth grader who is kind of like a boy genius. He's like a Dexter, Jimmy Neutron. And it sends a good message to kids. He's very optimistic. He's very ambitious over science. And something happens in his hometown where these penguins end up popping. They pop up.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
No, not like that. But they're mysteriously popping up. He lives nowhere near the ocean. So he uses a combination of magic and science and also friendship. He's got his buddies to solve this mystery. And it's very clever. It's very engaging. And like I said, the script is great. So many quotable lines. Overall, this is a film that makes it into my top 10 because movies like this, the Pixar movies, the Miyazaki, I don't know, there's that magic that you can create in a children's film. There's a box that you can't go outside of. So you have to find a way to be clever, and especially with anime films, they do such a great job of relating to adults where the whole family can go out and watch them. But yeah, Penguin Highway, number 4 on my list.
Well, sometimes those stories are you don't need to have anything outside of that box. Just a nice, wholesome movie that you can enjoy. There are multiple different types of film and that have many different stories. So you can excel at this story and be more than just labeled as a child's movie.
Right, and the number 3 movie on my list, I think I can make the same argument with this. People will hear this and think it's a little ridiculous, but it's John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. And I think with movies, there is kind of a stigma with action, comic book, horror. John Wick knows what it is, and it's a franchise that has gotten better with every movie. I mean, 1 was such a surprise. When we saw this, Keanu Reeves, the title was a little stupid, John Wick. And then it came out and he's fucking massacring the entire New York state. And John Wick 3, like I said, it knows what it wants to be and it does it so well. And Keanu Reeves there are different types of movie stars. There's the Leo, who's known for the dramas, kind of classic Hollywood. Then there's the action star like The Rock, Arnold, Tom Cruise. And then there's that Eastern foreign star like the Bruce Lees, the Jackie Chans, the Jet Lees. Keanu Reeves is kind of becoming like our version of that. He's synonymous with the character of John Wick. He's becoming a legend as these movies keep coming out. And also, I mean, the acting in this is great. Ian McShane as Winston. Halle Berry, the new introduction to the John Wick world, that sequence, the fighting sequences, the choreography in this movie, it just kept getting better.
The knife fight was fucking...
The knife fight, the fight with...
Bobon,
yes, the dogs, the motorcycles, the horses, when he knew how to hit the horse so that they would kick the bad guys.
That was like...
the lore also, too, the way that they've created this little underground mysterious world, this elegant assassin society where there is like structure, there are rules, there's currency. Everyone has a distinct niche job. I love this universe.
I remember the lead up to that film. Everyone wanted to know, like, what's the deal with the horse? How did he get the horse? Where's he going with the horse?
When he's on the horse and he shoots the ninja, right? Yeah. I mean, he's on a horse. He's got guns. He's got swords. Keanu is such. I mean, he's become an icon this year, right? This has been the year of Keanu, 2019. But he has such a passion for this type of film. And he has such an appreciation for it. And for this franchise to be in his hands at this late stage in his career, I just feel so happy for him.
No, I think you said it best. I mean, it is an action film, but it is one of the best of the genre.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know a lot of maybe old school cinephiles might be like, oh, you can't, just for what it is, you can't put John Wick above, let's say, a marriage story or something like that. It's just... Well, I mean, would you rather the best action movie or the 10th best drama? It shouldn't matter what genre it is. It's just you know what you're doing and you excel at it. Kind of like Mission Impossible last year, Fallout. It's one of the best action movies of all time. Just because it's an action movie and it's a 5th chapter in a franchise doesn't mean, or 6, right?
And there was 6. There was a lot of momentum. Yeah. A lot of people, and it's so funny because it's those group of people that just look down on these movies, because you look at the Rotten Tomato scores for Marvel as well. Most critics love these movies, but they're never going to find their way on those best of lists, those year ends lists. But there's also this idea that every movie has to be a poem. I think that's what Mark Ellis said, comedian, worked for Collider. He's like, not every movie has to be a poem. Sometimes I just want to know what's going on. Yeah. I can enjoy, kind of like Parasite. It's a very fun narrative. You can follow it. You're surprised by it. It's clever. You enjoy the writing. But this, from a technical standpoint, the fight choreography, the way that it's paced, the action, to me, it's near flawless, and that's why it finds itself at number 3. And the number 2 movie on my list, Little Women, movie that we already talked about. It was also on your list, and yeah, I didn't read the book going into this. I had heard of the book, but it's been done so many times. I'm like, how good could it be? Kind of contrarian. but it's very good.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a story with a lot of potential. And Greta Gerwig, she makes movies that she's telling real stories, but they're like dreams. You know, Lady Bird was like a dream that I felt that I've lived with my family. And this as well. I mean, the lead character, Saoirse Ronan's lead character, trying to follow her dreams, trying to break through that glass ceiling. And just the parallels of Greta Gerwig not being nominated for Best Director, delivering one of the most critically acclaimed best movies of the year. But yeah, the performances are fantastic. I think we forgot to mention Saul Goodman.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep, just hiding. You know, they've got gems just hiding throughout. Chris Cooper, like you said, the scene with the piano, I broke down. And it's just such a simple, elegant, subtle scene. And the emotions that she rips out of you with her films. She's incredible.
It really was just a great experience of like sitting there watching this movie. A little bit of everything, comedy, heartwarming, heartbreaking, and at the end of the day, it was kind of inspiring.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Chalamet, too, man. This guy, he's off to some start to his career.
He's good, man. I don't know. People don't talk about him enough.
No, they don't.
I think film Twitter needs a...
Film Twitter, yeah, you're sleeping on Chalamet.
You should just nonstop talk about Timothée Chalamet all the time.
It's cool to see because he's like, I don't know, I see him as the new Leo. Not that he looks the same or that he's a similar actor, but it's that heartthrob where you could tell this guy does have that talent. This guy is going to be a leading man. And he's another one, just picking great supporting roles. I don't have to be the lead. Yeah. I can play the supporting in Greta Gerwig's movie. And it's just overall, it's been such a great year for up-and-coming directors. So many directors are on their second or third film. And they're delivering great movies that will stand the test of time, that are being critically acclaimed. And also the old guys, too. I mean, Tarantino, Scorsese, a lot of the veterans have come back.
You know, it's a kind of like a little contrast there, where you have like Tarantino and Scorsese, you know. Studios don't come to them. They go to, like, they have an idea. They're like, all right, we'll back you.
Right.
So it's interesting to see the new generation of directors that will eventually, after their second, third, or fourth film, where people realize, okay, they can make anything and they're going to get a backing, they're going to get anyone they want in their film, and they're just going to be able to create their vision. So it's kind of nice seeing like a bunch of directors start, and I think we got a lot of them this year. Greta Gerwig, Taika Waititi, just to name a couple.
Safdie's, Eggers, Astor. I'm looking at our lists and the ages, some of the ages for these directors, you know, people in their 30s. It's really encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. I guess we're up to number one, right?
Yeah.
Throw it back to you.
Number one for me, The Lighthouse. Robert Eggers. Fantastic film. This is...
I hope.
One of the... Yeah, that's why I put it number one.
It's your number one.
I talked a lot about theater experience. This was... I was just mesmerized by this film. I remember leading up to this movie, you had the black and white, the 1-to-1 aspect ratio. And, you know, you're kind of like, what are they trying to do here? Is this like a gimmick or whatever? But... that mix, that blend with the story they're telling it's mesmerizing.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It kind of, I remember I was watching the film and the Defoe monologue about the lobster, and he kind of just disappeared and blended with the black background of the screen, and it just made this like haunting experience for me. I just saw like parts and features of his face on the screen, and it was like it was coming out. It was wild.
Yeah.
I think that was a brilliant choice by the cinematographer and Eggers to incorporate that into this film because it fits it so well. And just the story itself, I mean, Defoe and Pattinson, just two men slowly going insane while me as an audience member is slowly going insane watching this movie take place. We talked about The Irishman, how it was the quickest 3.5 hours of my life. This, I felt like I was in the theater for days. But that's usually that's not a good thing. With this, I was like, I want to be there for a week.
Right.
Like, I just didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
And by the time it was over, I'm like, what year is it? Like, I didn't know.
Cooper
like,
at the end of Twin Peaks.
It took you a while to be like, kind of snap out of it. And it was two of the best performances of the year. Got no love. I think only it only got a cinematography Oscar nom, which it deserves, but I think at the very least Defoe deserved a nomination. When he's getting buried alive and he's delivering his lines flawlessly with dirt in his mouth, who does that?
He's had a couple of good years too, man. At Eternity's Gate last year, The Florida Project the year before.
It kind of seemed like he was due to get a win.
Right.
Like he's getting nominated in these films that no one really knows, and now The Lighthouse, I think, might not have gotten too much commercial success, but I feel like this could have been the one for him to break through.
Yeah, I think we all thought it was going to be Defoe for this movie. That this movie may not get the Best Picture nom, it may not get writing and other acting noms, but Defoe definitely. And yeah, both of them, Pattinson keeps keeps putting people on notice that are doubting him. Batman just began filming, but he's another one. He's been in the indie circuit. He's been making the rounds, building up his resume, and
I think Good Time's coming to Netflix soon, so
yeah, check that out.
You gotta check it out. And he's been phenomenal these past.
Educate yourself.
And Eggers, I talked about it numerous times, but just again, I mean, he is becoming one of the biggest names in horror, along with Ari, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, he's a must-watch, man.
And usually with horror, I never thought I would say that, and it's not even like horror. It has elements to it, but I think good horror and what draws me to these two filmmakers' movies is that it blends so many different elements of other genres into their films.
You don't like the Grudge remake for the 18th time.
No, but
nobody likes
be
those.
Clever, be something different,
have
like some uniqueness to it.
Like the first Grudge.
Yeah. And not just make it, I mean, slasher. Slasher isn't even horror. That's just a subgenre of trash.
Well, they don't even come out anymore, slasher movies. There's some great ones.
There are.
All-time greats, but yeah, that's a genre.
But most of them are here.
See, when Wes Anderson said he wanted to make a horror movie, I thought slasher. That would be the best way to go for him.
But he would do a great job of blending other genres into his slasher.
That's what you need to do with the slasher genre.
And
maybe Teddy will write one.
A lot of time it's like $4 million. Let's make $200 million.
Yeah, right.
People will
not even that. It's like $5 million. We'll make $50 million, but that's still, we'll call it a day.
Yeah,
we'll pocket that money and just make Happy Death Day 10.
Not a bad business model.
Happened again. No, yeah, I mean, Jason Blumhouse.
But what I will say this about Blumhouse, and
they try. They're not purposely just.
They do make
shit.
good stuff.
Right. Get out.
So if there's an attempt to try to make something different, and then I can take the trash horror movies that I'm not going to see anyway.
Yeah, you take the 8 trash for 2 good ones.
Yeah, give me Blue Beetle movie. What's that called again? Upgrade.
Oh.
I don't know. I just thought of the superhero Blue Beetle. It's kind of the same concept.
I miss Upgrade. Nobody talks about that. We need to turn Upgrade into the Timothée Chalamet of movies.
Put it on your list.
Put
it number 1 right now.
Number 1 of 2019. Don't know how this happened. I guess, I'll just go to my number 1. I've talked about this so much that I feel like people already know what's my number 1. And it's the number 1 film for so many other people. Parasite. Parasite. What a masterpiece. Bong Joon-ho. And it's funny because Snowpiercer's the first experience I've had with Bong Joon-ho. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all, actually. But he's another one. He's been building up his filmography with movies like Monster, classic horror movie. You should check that out. Okja, more of a kid's movie, Netflix. But this, I mean, somebody tweeted the other day, I don't know if the perfect film exists, but Parasite might be the closest thing to it. I mean, what encompasses a movie? If you want to answer that question, then I'm going to tell you Parasite does all those things expertly.
Yeah.
The writing, the directing, the cinematography, I mean, the themes. I guess that's the one thing I'll talk about. The way that we frame kind of rich and poor as good and evil, and the way that he kind of plays with those roles. It's not Cruella de Vil. It's not 100 Dalmatians. These are rich people who are
oblivious.
Kind of good. Yeah, they're just oblivious to their life because their life is easy. They don't know hardship. When it rains, they say, "Oh, look how great it is that the sun is out today." Meanwhile, the other family just lost their entire home.
Yeah.
And then they're painted as the swindlers. And that's another great aspect of the movie is the first act is like a heist movie. You go into it without knowing anything. This is awesome, They're making some money. They're going to get these jobs, and it's so beautifully written. And then when that twist happens at the end, it turns into something completely different, literally adding layers thematically and with the structure of the house. It was the performances. I cannot believe that none of these actors or actresses were nominated.
They won the ensemble, though, at the SAG, so
they won the ensemble. Yeah, that was cool.
It's a good consolation, but
the
maybe
mom in both
they
families,
yeah,
the dad in both families, the kids in both families, everybody in this movie, the maid, the husband, everything about this was just so perfect. And I watched it for a third time recently, and the ending, it always gets me. It's such an emotional ending. There's so many things that the symbolism, there's so many things that you can go back and pick out from this film that you didn't notice the first time. But it's just, I love this movie, and I'm getting ready to review it, actually, because we never did it on this channel.
Well, I got the Blu-ray. Shout out to
Mr. Blue.
Blu-rays.
Mr. Blu-ray. Send me a signed copy, actually, and a digital code. You want that?
Yeah, sure.
Fuck you. Yeah, but Parasite. I really hope that one day we can get around to doing a top 10 of the decade, because there's still movies that I need to see.
I mean, real quick, I think it's been a freaking solid decade. Think about Blade Runner 2049, which might be the best movie of the decade, and didn't get nominated for Best Picture when it came out.
No. I totally forgot that we have fan questions, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe we'll talk about some of those then.
Yeah, actually, we're doing a podcast.
Talk about like so many. I hope a lot of these great films don't get kind of lost in like the 2010s, like Ex Machina, even Annihilation, both Alex Garland films. Why doesn't he get more work?
Yeah, I know.
What the hell? I mean, two of my favorite movies of the decade. But
yeah, the all-decade list is so hard.
It is. I tried to do it on Twitter, and I gave up after like 5 movies.
Because you have to go.
I think I had Django, Call Me by Your Name, Ex Machina. I forget, but I had like 5 movies. I'm like, this is too hard. I can't keep up, and I'm gonna leave something off, and people are gonna get mad at me. So I'm just gonna stop now.
That always happens. Okay. We have some fan questions here from our peeps on Twitter. This question here from Wayward Stranger: what was better, 1917 or Saving Private Ryan?
I thought I was gonna say Dunkirk. That was kind of the conversation going around the past week.
Yeah,
or two.
I might find that question definitely.
But that's tough. Saving Private. It's one of those movies where it's hard to kind of. It's just a classic, you know. It's kind of like comparing what's better, Irishman or Goodfellas or something like that. It's like, can you really compare? I think Saving Private Ryan is much better, but that might just because it's Saving Private Ryan, and I've grew up with that movie and I watch it numerous times, and I've only seen 1917 once. So
yeah, I think I give the edge to Saving Private Ryan. This question here from Christian Eulenberg at Eulenberger7. What are your top 5 movies from this past decade? And which film did you enjoy more, The Lighthouse or Uncut Gems?
Well, you heard our list. You liked Uncut Gems more, I guess, right?
Yeah, I did like Uncut Gems more, I did. But like I said, it's very close. I think I gave The Lighthouse a 9.3 and Uncut Gems was 9.4. You know, why do I don't know. It's tough to say because, like I said, it is so close. Uncut Gems and Jojo Rabbit would be a better comparison for me in terms of why I liked one more, because there's a bit more space. But my top 5 movies from this past decade.
That's hard, man. I can't do 5.
I do have my top 5.
You do?
Yeah. Upstream Color, Hard to Be a God, Hunt for the Wilder People, Your Name, and number 5 would probably be Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. Those movies I listed before would be up there. Moonlight, that's such a great movie too. The Master, La La Land, Arrival, anything Denis Villeneuve's done this decade. Pretty much.
All of his movies, Prisoners.
Yeah.
Incendies, I think, is 2010.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's also funny
Lady
how
Bird was this decade.
Inception was 2010.
Was it?
Yeah. Summer 2010.
Yeah, I think True Grit was there. I love True Grit. I don't really talk about that much, but every time that movie's on, I think that was 2010. Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
It's got to be up there.
Parasite.
Birdman.
Obviously. Birdman, yeah.
Let's just name movies.
We watch movies here.
Let's see. Let me get a list up here.
This question here from Amy at Book Chic Geeks. What did you think about Booksmart? I think that it was a good movie that really got slept on. I agree on both fronts, actually. I think it was a very good movie, and I think it was slept on. I thought this movie in particular, I mean, no matter if I think it's good or not, this is the type of film that the Academy eats up, you know? Coming of age, similar to like a Ghost World, one of my all-time favorites. And I thought it was very good. I think it wasn't a classic comedy for me, and I think maybe that kind of hurt it.
Yeah.
Where it wasn't, this is a surefire, funniest movie of the year. You have to see it. It makes like $200 to $300 million. It has that cultural staying power. I
feel like when it first released, it got like a nice push because it did have such a high Rotten Tomatoes score, and a lot of critics were talking very highly of it. But I don't know if it ever took off and made that much money, which is a shame because it was a very good comedy. It wasn't probably the funniest movie I saw this year, but it's another film that just, I think it knew what it was trying to do, and it just excelled at a lot of aspects of what it is to have a teen comedy. I think Good Boys was another comedy I loved this year.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I thought Good Boys was funnier. I think Booksmart was the better movie.
Yes.
But Good Boys
was fucking hysterical.
It was like one of the only movies I saw this year that made me actually like belly laugh. Like Blockers a couple years back too. That was another movie.
That was funny.
We're kind of losing the comedy, where I feel like comedy has evolved into something where more like The Nice Guys, or like a Jojo Rabbit, or a Hunt for the Wilder People, where it's not this super bad 4-year-old virgin type. It's more I guess, oh, just a different approach to telling.
Yeah, the
comedic
Mel
stories.
Brooks. How many laughs can we get by the time this movie is over? This question here from Quentin M. Quentin Martel, is that you? Why is 1917 getting so much more hype than Dunkirk in terms of awards? Dunkirk is at least as good in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think Dunkirk is not as good. I think it's better, not significantly better, but Dunkirk, I said it on my review, it's my favorite war movie of all time because I get sick of war movies. I get it. The Nazis were bad guys, and you know, they were trying to take over the world. So many people have done that goddamn war so many times.
Well, not 1917.
Well, not 1917. Yeah, like these are the pre-Nazis. Yeah, I'm surprised. I think its release date has a lot to do with it because Nolan, he wants to come out in the summer. You know, Dunkirk was a huge blockbuster.
Well, a lot of people are saying
For a war
1917 is the last movie a lot of critics saw, so it might be fresher. But another aspect, do you think it has anything to do with summer blockbuster, Dunkirk, Nolan?
Yeah, and I think
It's just kind of something other than what we're used to with the December drama film.
it overachieved because Nolan was nominated for Best Director and it was nominated for Best Picture. That's easily a movie that could have been forgotten about. And it's also, the Academy loves war movies. But the way that Dunkirk, to me,
It's unique in like there's no characterization, and there really isn't a lot in 1917. It's very, you pick up on a few things, but most of the times it's just an experience. I think they're very similar in that aspect. It's like an experience. You're just on this journey, and you're kind of, it's more documentarian than like an actual, more of a.
it looks like the greatest documentary of all time, the greatest war documentary. Because seeing that in IMAX, and shooting that movie with IMAX cameras, he makes event movies. He makes movies where you can't watch this on Netflix. We always say, oh, if this movie came on Netflix, would you go see it in the theaters, or would you just stay home?
Mm-hmm.
With Nolan, no, you can't stay home.
Well, I'm upset we didn't get to see 1917. It was an IMAX in the city, but not by us, which was a shame. That would have been an experience.
Yeah. This question here from Mr. Balloon Hands at Slithering Sudan. Not about films, but favorite Kobe Bryant moment.
The favorite. That's easily my top of the deck. I can't believe I spaced out on that.
Yeah, that you do love The Favorite.
Such a great movie.
It is very good. That would definitely be near my top 20.
Fuck, that's incredible. That's easily top 3 for me. It's right there at Blade Runner.
Yeah, but Kobe Bryant, obviously, we know the news. That was so sad for us growing up as NBA fans to see a legend like that lose his life so young, 41 years old. But a favorite Kobe Bryant moment for me, I'll never forget this, man. The shot against the Suns, the 2 shots, the tying layup. I was outside playing basketball. My friend Saul Hill calls me on the phone. The Lakers are down 2. Oh, Smush Parker just stole it. Kobe for the layup. He tied it. So I run all the way home. I'm down the block. Watch that overtime game. When they get that tip, Kobe pulls up for the elbow like he knew it was. That's why he was so clutch.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't care. He wanted that shot, and that Mike Breen bang. A legend. And there's so many moments of Kobe, so many moments of him breaking my heart because I never rooted for him. I was always against the Lakers,
Yeah, same. I mean,
it's like the Yankees or the Patriots, because the Lakers were always good. You have 5 championships in a decade. I didn't even put that together until the other day. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
They dominated that decade. But so many moments to choose from. Do you have one?
Yeah, we'll talk about it, or we did talk about it already on our regular podcast. But,
yeah, we're going to do a little. We did a little tribute to him.
So, yeah, favorite moment, it's got to be, I was here actually, the Celtics series when they won and they beat
that Game 7.
The Big 3.
Yeah.
That was
incredible. I can still remember that score, 83-79.
I mean, Pau Gasol was like, he kind of shined in that game, but it was just, I don't think that's like my memory of like Kobe winning a championship against that Celtics team.
Number 5, solidifying.
It was like the last one. It was really the one when I was like peak basketball fan. I really didn't, I was watching around the Shaq and Kobe's, but I don't think
we were young too.
Yeah. So that last one was one that I remember. The 81, obviously, the 60, his last game. There's so many moments. 61 at the Garden.
Yeah, I've got a personal moment with watching him play, but I talked about that on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So that for personally, but in terms of his whole career, that shot against the Suns, to me, just the balls on that man. This question here from Artist of Life at Trev G. Frederick. Which film ended up being the most different from your expectations prior to seeing it? I would say Parasite did a good job of that because I had seen the trailer before Joker and I thought, what the fuck is going on in this movie? And the big plot twist in that, threw me for a loop. So I would say Parasite. Phantom Thread. I think for a lot of people went in thinking.
Well, I don't know what I expected from Phantom Thread.
And then it was hilarious. So I didn't expect that.
It was a very funny movie. Well, we were laughing. No one else in the theater.
Yeah.
Remember the first time I watched Birdman? I really had no idea what to expect, and I was like, "That's one where like another one take. It's kind of has that effect." I'm like, "Oh wow."
The Exorcist for me, because I had known that it was a horror classic, but because of the reputation that the horror genre got, for so many years I thought, "Oh, this is probably just terrible." And people enjoyed it because it was scary at the time, but now it's probably really cheesy. And the first time I watched it, I was like, whoa, this is a movie.
Yeah.
This is an actual movie with characters and character development. And it's still, to this day, horrifying. Because I had heard stories. You know, you hear the stories from your parents. The Exorcist is the scariest movie of all time. I can't watch it. I couldn't sleep. It's like, yeah, you're old and stupid.
Hell or High Water, too. I'm just looking at movies of the decade. That was a great fucking movie.
That's a good flick. This question here, got one from Gabe at Azor, Ohio. Which actor peaked in 2019? I thought Adam Driver, Lupita Nyong'o, Scarlett Johansson, and Robert Pattinson reached really high points last year.
Yeah, peak in terms of what? I mean, Scarlett Johansson has always been huge, but I guess with the 2 nominations as an actor.
Yeah, she peaked critically.
Yeah.
Adam Driver, with his fame, seems to be hitting a sort of peak.
Yeah, he kind of, like, I think more of not only his overall fame, but like, wow, this guy is one of the best actors working today.
Yeah, and Pattinson, I think, in the other respect, that he's becoming so famous because of the work that he's put in and now playing Batman. Yeah. So hopefully he has a success with that.
Who else did he mention?
He had mentioned Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay, yeah, I mean, she's been around. She's been, I think, highly touted as an actress for a while. But with us, it's kind of, especially coming off Get Out, Jordan Peele's second film, had a lot of hype around it, so a lot of people got to see her performance, and maybe that was an introduction to her ability as an actor. Keanu Reeves, just as a social fucking figure, like, Keanu Reeves is like bigger than he was from The Matrix now, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
I think Robert Downey Jr. too, with Endgame ending. It's, even though he's been there for a while, I think the appreciation is starting. We got a lot more of that.
I got to say this about Robert Downey Jr. Get in a room with talented filmmakers, my brother. Please. You just did a decade of blockbuster movies. You have all the money, all the fame. Go to the indies now. Please. Go show everybody why I say you're one of my top 3 favorite actors of all time. Mm-hmm. And people laugh. You've scoffed at that before, too. Because, you know, when you first introduced to him, it's Marvel. It's Iron Man. You don't realize that this guy at one point was acting his ass off. And
yeah, Chaplin. I mean, he's got nominated for Tropic Thunder. He's doing the 3rd Sherlock Holmes. So,
see, I don't want it.
You don't like
I like those movies, but I want him, like, get Tarantino, please. Get this guy. Don't you think he'd be perfect for a Tarantino movie? One of these big directors, man.
Yeah.
This question here from Anna at Sugar Plum Bell. If you guys decided on winners for the Oscars of all the top categories, director, best picture, best actor, actress, best supporting actor, actress, what would your picks be and why? Well, for director, I guess I'll just do these quick. It would be Bong Joon-ho. Best picture would be Parasite. Best actor would be Adam Driver. Best actress would be the nominees for best actress. Who's the favorite right now?
Scarlett Johansson. There's
best supporting actor. I would go with, like I said, I think I would go with Pesci now. Mm-hmm. And best supporting actress, definitely I would go with Florence Pugh for Little Women, or Laura Dern for Marriage Story.
Yeah.
But I think Florence Pugh is, I think she, actually, going back to that other question, breakout actresses, she's become a solidified star this year.
Well, I think, like, if I was in charge and my vote was the only one that mattered, it would be The Irishman, best actor, Adam Driver, best actress, Scarlett Johansson. Supporting, I would go with Pacino. Pacino or Pitt, really just pick one. Either Laura Dern or Florence Pugh for Little Woman. I mean, a lot of these categories are pretty stacked this year, and I think that's pretty cool when you look at, like, you can actually debate between 2 or 3 different actors or films. Yeah, it makes it more interesting.
This question here from Bryant versus Superman. Good luck. At B Coop St. Louis STL. Which film on your top 10 list should have a prequel or spin-off? This idea, it's really growing on me. This Parasite spin-off miniseries, that it's gonna kind of take place before, in between, and after the Parasite movie and kind of explore some of the supporting characters and what they were doing, how their stories connect. Because, I was thinking about the Pizza Girl when I watched it for the third time. It's like, what are that Pizza Girl and Pizza Boy? What are they doing? You know?
Yeah, not until the third or fourth time do you appreciate the pizza.
You don't
pizza
appreciate
people.
the pizza kids.
What about the guy peeing? Like,
Yeah, the guy peeing.
What's got him so down?
Right? Yeah, he's always showing up.
Yeah, I think that idea, I think there's a lot of, quote-unquote, like, controversy around that when it first leaked. But, Bong Joon-ho and
Well, he seems to really
Adam
want
McKay.
to do it.
Yeah, and he's involved, and it's his story, and he wants to do it, so I don't see the big deal. And Adam McKay, talk about best movies of the decade, Big Short. I know you didn't like Vice, but I still enjoyed Vice.
No, I liked Vice. I just didn't think it should have been Best Picture.
1918? What happened that year? No, I think a Jojo Rabbit style, like Taika Waititi just taking on different, like...
Young Hitler?
Not young Hitlers, but, like, Hitler-adjacent people.
Okay.
Like, maybe, like, what's Stalin? Taika Waititi is Stalin, this little kid in Soviet Russia.
Stalin. I thought you said Donald.
Oh, no.
I was like, whoa, you want to go that route?
No, kind of just different, like, maybe like darker periods of history, and he kind of just tells it through the same style. I think that would be funny, but also it kind of Jojo Rabbit would lose some of its uniqueness, I guess.
This question
How many times can you see?
Right. This question here from Sotos.
The Italian man?
Soto_Milanese. Well, I think he's made that like 4 times already. What was the worst best movie of the year? From Sotos at Soto_Milanista.
It's Serenity. And
I didn't get the opportunity, the privilege to watch Serenity.
The worst thing I've ever seen, but if I didn't, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I loved every second of it. Anne Hathaway, Matthew McConaughey. Why? Jason Clarke. What are you doing? Whose idea is this?
It's funny because your tone sounds like you're either going to praise it or criticize it.
No,
you're like Anne Hathaway, Matthew McConaughey.
The twist is so bad that it's perfect.
You almost don't want to spoil it because of how stupid it is. And if there's just one soul out there who hasn't seen this stupidity.
Oh my God, it's indescribable. Where you're watching it, you're just like, what the? Like the opening scene, like it's McConaughey taking someone out on a boat. That's what he does. That's charter. People go fishing.
He's a boatman, yeah.
And like one of his customers has like a big fish, and McConaughey's like, I want to. He's like, give me that. Like I need to get your fish. And the guy's like, no, I paid for it. It's like, and he starts screaming at him, puts a knife to his throat. Like, what the fuck is going on? And from there, it just takes off, and it's just like.
This is like one of those ideas that your friend comes to you and says, I have an idea for a movie.
Yeah.
And they're so confident, and you read it on paper, and you're like, yeah.
I picture McConaughey
this could be a movie.
Reading the script, and I'm like, whoa, man, that's crazy. I don't even see that coming. It's pretty good.
He's like, usually I don't do movies that are this straightforward, but
yeah,
I'll settle for this.
And there's one thing, I kind of want to spoil it. All right, so is this the last question?
We'll do one more.
All right, I'll spoil it at the end.
Okay. This question here from Sophia. At Sophia Feliciano. Wow, Feliciano is my mother's maiden name. Look at that. If you guys could star in any movie in your top 10, what movie would it be, and what character would you choose, and why? Irishman, Joe Pesci's character. There's nothing more than I want to be than a mid-level, not mid-level. I'm pretty powerful, I'm the plug between different families, but to be a powerful, reserved, Vito Corleone-styled gangster, that's all I want in life. I die in my backyard eating oranges with my grandson.
What was this question?
Or Roman Griffin Davis's character. What movie from your top 10 would you want to star in? Well, it's not in my top 10, actually.
I don't know.
Uncut Gems would be, if I'm a good actor,
Once Upon a Time, like starring in a Quentin Tarantino movie, that's
what, when your agent comes to you with that script.
Yeah.
It's like, good job.
Actually, no, it's probably stressful as hell. It's a movie with no expectations.
You gotta be up for the challenge. Yeah, God, you're awful.
Yeah, but like, I guess
You and Nash in Lighthouse?
Yeah. I don't want to work with
That's basically a PS4 chat.
Yeah, it is really.
If you want to know how Nash and Aaron are on PS4, just watch Lighthouse.
Yeah, they're yelling at each other, drinking and hugging.
Yeah, basically. It's either you hate each other, you love each other, and you're both drunk.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I was just working with like a Scorsese or...
This question here from Larson will take
Parasite would be funny. Like just like a South Korean movie and it's just me. I don't know what's going on.
Just a monkey.
Yeah.
This question here from Larson at Larson Sec. Which director had the best decade? This is the easiest question we've gotten. Denis Villeneuve.
by far.
I mean, he just built his legacy this decade. I think you could say he's legendary. This dude's got. I was thinking about it the other day. Yeah, Arrival,
Incendies,
that run,
Prisoners,
Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, in a 5 to 6 year period.
It's incredible. It really is.
And now he's cooking up Dune.
Yeah, just casually.
And I think Incendies might be 2010. I mean, if Incendies is 2010, I think that's a 10 out of 10 movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arrival's perfect. I think Blade Runner 2049 is perfect. I think Sicario's a 9.5 out of 10. Same thing with Prisoners.
His filmography is very diverse. You got an alien movie that deals with time, and you have a cartel kind of action FX type movie that's flawless for the most part. It's a sci-fi futuristic type dystopia, and then Prisoners is a kind of like a cop mystery type murder.
He's got a lot of Kubrick in him.
The Enemy's like a surrealistic type of fucking
Enemy.
fuck.
That's this decade too, right?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ, this man's crazy. He feels like to me a combination of Spielberg and Kubrick. Where Kubrick his films were a bit more weird, a bit more surreal and out there and ambitious, but Spielberg could do anything. You give Spielberg a book, a comic, a short story, a new idea, he's going to get you to the finish. He was a technical master, and I feel Villeneuve has kind of parts of both of them.
Sicario has the feel to me like in 20 years that's probably going to be much bigger. I feel like a lot of people know and like it now, but it's going to kind of be that movie that's always on like FX or TNT that people just constantly watch and people get introduced to every day. And kind of in 20 years, I think it's going to age very well. Where people are going to appreciate that film and Denis Villeneuve.
Like Prisoners is a great dad movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm upset that more dads aren't aware of Prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
And Enemy, it's like a movie for somebody who's a fan of David Lynch. You know, that's why he's got a piece of everybody in him, and he's brilliant. I cannot wait for what he does with Dune because he's one of those guys. He's like a guaranteed hit when he steps up to the plate. You know, it's like
but the problem is he's playing on the fucking Rays and no one's there to watch him.
I know.
Go see Dune, please.
He's stuck in Florida.
Can I spoil Sicario now? Not Sicario, Serenity now.
Yeah, spoil it. Might as well.
So the big twist is, and so long everyone who turned it off because that ran to their local Best Buy to pick up. Is Best Buy still a thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay,
yeah.
To pick up the Blu-ray of Serenity. So the twist is that McConaughey's character is actually he died in war. He was a soldier. And the kid, to deal with that grief, created a video game where he plays with his dad. And that's the movie. But I didn't even get to the real twist. The bigger twist is that in the game that he's playing, he fucks his own mom with McConaughey's character.
What is that illegal?
I don't know what it is, but
it's just weird.
He makes a video game and bangs his mom.
Do you think that's just an oversight by them? Where they think, oh, fuck. Like, when it's finally edited and they put the stamp on it, it's like, oh, wait, I think he fucked his mom.
Yeah, no.
Did we just make that kid fuck his mom? It's like, we just shipped it to every theater in the country.
Yeah.
Phil, I'm going to assume.
So,
I don't know who directed it.
I mean, he did that, and that's in the movie.
But like you said, Anne Hathaway is somebody who's been in a lot of good movies over the years. And McConaughey too, the McConaissance, you know? I really feel that.
I thought you were gonna justify the kid.
The kid? Oh, the kid.
Because it was Anne Hathaway.
Hey, if your mom. I sometimes I have to think that they read a script and think this could be good, you know? Because there's no way unless.
I remember seeing the trailer. I'm like, okay, McConaughey, Anne Hathaway. It kind of looks a little wacky, crazy. Maybe this could be a January hit.
I knew right away. Jason Clarke's in it, right?
Yeah.
Just from Jason Clarke being in it, that guy rubs me the wrong way.
Pet Sematary was a movie that came out this year.
I hated that movie. I thought it was
horrible.
Really?
It was neat.
That movie to me was so disturbing in that it was disturbing in how bad it was. I was like, I cannot believe I'm watching it.
Thought it was okay.
That did come out this year, huh?
It did. There's so many movies this year that I'm like, wait. When I look back on my list, I'm like, no shit.
You think in 30 years people are going to look back and be like, why were they so obsessed with Stephen King?
Well, I'm watching The Outsider right now, and it's a very it would be perfect to do reviews on, except that it's based off a book. So it's like, we can't really speculate because people know what happens.
Right.
And like after the second or third episode, I stayed around for the credits, and it said based off a book like Stephen King. And that kind of bummed me out. Because I'm like, oh, this twist is... Because it's going to rely on like a big twist or reveal. I'm like, oh, it's probably going to suck now.
I love the Family Guy cutaway. Not to knock on Stephen King. I don't know.
No, he's very influential.
Yeah, he's got hits.
Yeah.
He's got hits. But when he's at his publisher's office and he's like, my new idea for a book is about an evil lamp. And he just grabs the lamp on the desk. Rawr, rawr.
But I always get like...
And the publisher's like, you're not even trying anymore, right? And he looks at it, he's like, rawr.
It's always like...
When can we have it finished?
It's like, how many books how many things has he made that have been created into like a film or TV show?
So many.
And it's like, well, now there's a new one. It's like, well, this is like their 50th choice. It's probably... How good could it be?
Well, yeah, those I mean, he's so prolific with the amount of books that he releases. It feels like every year we get a new Stephen King book. So they're not all going to be good. That's always the case for prolific artists.
It's the Tower, right? Was it the Tower?
The Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower. That's a good franchise.
No, I've heard great things about the book.
They just missed on the movie.
Yeah.
Another McConaughey vehicle.
That might be the reason why. I mean, I don't dislike Stephen King, but you kind of do groan when you see base. It's like, oh, another one of these.
That's not fair to him because we're not reading the books. We're going off of the adaptations.
Like The Shining and the book are just completely different.
Yeah.
And then a lot of his adaptations, it's complex. He's kind of like a Tim Burton for me, where it's half I really enjoy and then half the others I don't. And like I said, you can't put that on him because he's not making the movies. But yeah, I mean, those are our top 10 movies of the year. It was a nice discussion, Cut the fat, no Nash and Teddy.
Sometimes the fat brings a little flavor, but sometimes you just want a nice lean piece of meat.
Yeah, I mean, the wintertime you want to bulk up, but
yeah.
Well, we actually should have had them. Yeah, oh well.